Everybody, the American Space Museum. I'm Marquette, and we're so glad you're with us to stay curious with this guy, Triple T
Hey,
Thompson.
yep.
How you doing, Travis?
Good, having a good
Well,
day.
good to see you
Yep,
there, buddy.
glad to be here.
Well, likewise, always glad to be with our guests here that are our Stay Curious fans out there. We
Yeah.
appreciate you being with us for 2 years. We have behind us here the spacewalk of Ed White. As I moved our little bit, this is courtesy of Mr. Chris Calley. This is one of his artworks. That is not a photograph, folks. That is a gorgeous photograph that Chris Calley has spent a little time doing there. And we're going to have Mr. Calley here in our Stay Curious studios next Thursday. Can't wait to meet one of the world's most renowned space artists. And his father, Paul Calley, is very famous for his Apollo sketches of the astronauts in pencil and other things. And Chris and his father Paul, who's passed away, I think they have over 40 U.S. postage stamps combined that they've done on there. So we're going to, of course, talk about Gemini 4 and Gemini 9 launched on this date, June 3rd in space history. Gemini 4 doing the famous spacewalk with Ed White behind me here on June 3rd, 1965. And a year later, Tom Stafford and Gene Cernan were launched on JT-9A, technically. They were the backup crew because of the death of Elliot C. and Richard Bassett in a plane crash. They were the prime crew. And Gemini 9 is a very interesting mission with and we're going to hear some about the spacewalk that Gene Cernan, who was the last man to walk on the moon, his very difficult thing. And Triple T and I got a special way to dramatize that for you today. But we wanted to just put it out there who this guy is. He worked on the White Room up there 195 feet above the mobile launch platform. And this is STS 98, I believe.
Okay.
Marcia's there, and I don't have my glasses on to see who else. Marcia Ivins, one of your favorites, because she was one of your astronaut.
Yes, she was.
number twos, I mean.
Yeah.
And what we have here, Travis.
That's my uniform on display in the Smithsonian Air and Space Museum.
As we speak there. So a photograph that one of our docents, Steve Izzo, sent on a visit there a couple of weeks ago. Yeah, you met Steve.
Yeah.
He's an astronomy buddy and a good good docent here. He's on. He's a snowbird though. He's up in New York now, enjoying the green leaves up there. Triple T, we had a birthday yesterday of one of your favorite guys. Who is this?
Mr. Mark.
Roman Polanski.
I could never say Polanski.
Polanski.
I always call him commander or pilot.
Well, he was a pilot twice and a commander once, and here he is as commander of the launch 98, I believe. Isn't that what that? Tell us about that sign he's got.
So that
there.
little plaque, what it would do is I would wait until Su-17, which is the dress rehearsal. And as soon as the commander would come into my White Room, I had already put Velcro on the back. And we had Velcro on the little thing. That's what you crawl into the shuttle on. So what I would traditionally do is give it to the commander and let him install it. And we would just leave it there until the mission was launched. On launch day, I would take them off and I'd give them to my workers.
Cool. Yeah, I've seen a few of them in your stash of stuff around here.
Yeah.
Polanski was 66 years old yesterday, born in Paterson, New Jersey. That's just on the other side of the river there from New York City. And he earned the nickname Roman as a joke because he shares the last name with film director Roman Polanski in there. But Peggy Whitson called him a remarkably talented individual with excellent aviator skills. And was a valuable contribution to our team. So happy birthday to, again, I know I want to put that up there because he's your buddy, but this is one of my favorite space pictures. Tell everybody what's going on there.
He's prepping food. He's making dinner for his buddies. So he's got...
that's how you make hot dogs.
That's how you make them, they want you to have carbs and protein. You can't have crackers and chips, stuff that'll crumble and float, so no bread. So there you go.
Really interesting there. Well, today in space history, we had a twofer on June 3rd. We'll always be known for 2 Gemini launches a year apart. Here is Jim McDivitt leading Ed White up the gantry, if you will, from the floor to take him up to the elevator to the top of the White Room of the Gemini. And with our White Room from the shuttle here, we're going to talk about the White Room of the Gemini. Quite Spartan, as we were reviewing some of the pictures there, and you can share some of that with us. Here's the other crew launch today. That is Tom Stafford leading out Gene Cernan. And look at Gino. His spacesuit's got some extra stuff on the outside because he's going to do a spacewalk.
Yeah.
But boy, some pretty high-tech accommodations there.
Trailer and yeah.
They couldn't get Home Depot to build them a good deck there or what?
No.
Of course, it's 1966 in this picture. And though these people were superstars in their own right, they really lived under kind of modest accommodations.
Yeah. This is actually straight out government issue. It's battleship grade, the paint.
Yeah.
And it's slip retardant. It's got some sand in it underneath there. So yeah.
Well, let's look at the White Room in the Gemini days. Okay. They wanted a clean room. Tell us a little bit about what you've heard about it, Travis.
Clean rooms are supposed to generally be what they call a level 100 clean room. So it is a clean room, and everything's white. So it just naturally call it the White Room, and everybody knows what that is. So it's the area that they last enter the ship. Mm-hmm. So it's the last place that they're standing, talking, and doing that stuff.
But as you're going to see, there's a lot of light-hearted moments to break the tension up there. Looks like they kind of have a parachute for a canopy above this thing. Would that be possible, you think?
It might be weather protection, to be honest.
Well, here is the launch of GT Gemini Titan 4. They use Roman numerals in the Gemini program. And they call it, NASA officially called it Gemini, like Jiminy Cricket, they say. And it's Gemini, the constellation in the sky, the brothers. But it's the same mythological bent of 2 human beings doing something. And there's the launch of it. Very slick engines that were like riding a sports car. The astronauts who rode the Saturn V rocket said that this was the smoothest ride to space, a quick 9 minutes up there. And again, we're gonna look at that in a minute here, the whole gantry and so forth. But there is Ed White in the foreground and Jim McDivitt in the background, getting ready to get in their spacecraft. And the person that was renowned and sort of a good luck charm was this gentleman, Mr. Gunter Wendt, W-E-N-D-T. Always had the bow tie, didn't he?
Oh, yeah, definitely.
And he was your mentor. Tell us a little about that, Travis.
He was actually pad safety when I started in 1979. And he was, like you said, their lucky charm, basically. Gemini, Mercury, and the Apollo, they just treated him like he was their good luck thing, Wally Schirra demanded after Apollo 1 fired that they bring Gunther back. And he said, I wouldn't get another spaceship without him. So that's how they thought of Gunther.
Coincidentally, Wally Schirra and Gunter Wendt died on the same day, May 3rd. Wally died in 2007 at age 84, and Gunter has been gone 12 years. He died in 2010 at age 86. So
86.
I know that it doesn't seem like 12 years to you, probably.
No.
About there, because here you did get to meet the man.
Oh, several times.
There you are talking to him. Tell us what that circumstance was.
Okay, I'm at my desk one day, and I get a phone call, and they said, Gunther would like his last tour of the pad. Would you do that? I said, please, come on, bring him out.
No, let someone else do it, right?
Yeah, so they bring him to my office, and I take him out and put him in the closeout truck where I would sit. And I drove him to the pad surface, and I had a couple other guys there with me that worked for me. And he just wanted a tour, and he wanted to see the pad, his own words, one last time.
Mm-hmm.
So we did, and what we're doing here is he just sat down and basically took us to school, telling us how we were to act around astronauts. No grab assing, but they obviously did a little bit. But you know, and how their safety is our priority above our own. So once that sunk in, you had, you know, it's, so he's just telling us stuff. And then when we left, you see he's got a camera around his neck. When we were leaving, I was just me and him, and he takes his camera off of his neck, hands it to a NASA guy, and he puts his arm around me, and he said, "I want to pass the torch to the next generation." No. I had tears in my eyes. So.
Yeah, well, that raises the hair on your arms there, buddy.
It does, yeah.
That's really a nice tribute. There you are up in the White Room. And he was a great friend of the American Space Museum and our U.S. Space Walk of Fame Foundation, our nonprofit. He helped raise money. He was, and he was very involved with the Apollo 13. And Ron Howard, I think, took a shine to it.
Yeah.
The director of that movie in there. I've seen a lot of pictures of them together. So.
You know what he told me? He said, I used to carry a club in the corner of his White Room. And I was like, what? And he says, yeah, because if my guys got a doe in the headlight look, or if they got scared, I'll thump them, and now they're not part of the problem, you know. So I was like, man, I wish I'd have known that, because there's a couple of gourd heads I'd have liked to.
Really? You didn't inherit that ball back.
He didn't pass that down.
The baton, literally the baton in there. But we're going to talk a little bit about the exciting Gemini. The whole outfit of this thing. What you see there is the gantry. That at the top is the White Room. Yeah. Okay, and we're going to see a picture of that in a minute. It was actually painted red. I had a hard time finding a colored photograph that wasn't copyrighted by Getty or someone with their ink or their watermark all over it. Oh. But this would actually go up and down, okay, and they would lay it completely horizontal, and to the top right, they would slide the Titan Atlas, the Titan rocket on a rail system horizontally into it, and then raise it up. That's how the Russians raise their rocket. Right. They bring them in by rail horizontally, but the spacecraft wasn't on it at that time. There is the White Room now as it sits at Cape Canaveral Space Force. Marty, have you seen it out there at the Rocket Garden? I know you've been out there a couple times.
I don't recall seeing it. It's probably there.
Hadn't given a shout out to Marty Winkle, my co-producer, working our Streamlabs computer program here to show you this wonderful program that we hope you all enjoy. But they would actually take the capsule out there on a flatbed and then hoist it up to the top and attach it while this whole gantry was up there. So pretty kind of interesting. Yep. Again, the red on the ground there is on the top of this structure that goes up and down. And there's a famous time-lapse photo that I didn't want to show this time that is Gemini 10, where it shows you the gantry going up and down there. So here is inside the White Room. Yep. Pictures taken as it was restored, and there's the hole where the spacecraft would be sticking out with the rocket below it there. Mm-hmm. And our good friend of the museum, Ken Havicott, one of the world's renowned collectors and authenticator for space autographs, he has sold from time to time White Room floor. I put a call in to Ken to give me more about this, but this is one of his sales sheets where he sold that White Room floor, and I want to ask him how much he'd sell it for. I suppose $50 to $100. This is a one of a kind
part of history
type of history there. Absolutely. But there's what it looked like with two astronauts in it. This happens to be Gemini 5 with Pete Conrad and Gordon Cooper, I believe. I might hear from John Bisney or J.L. Pickering might tell me that I'm wrong, but I think that's what the caption said. And just to give you another idea of the McDonald was the contractor that built this, so they were the ones in charge of everything there. Look at that, folks. When you lay those gull wings on top of you, there's about 2 inches clearance of your head above you, and you're looking out that little window. Both of you are always looking out a window. Maybe that's a good thing. But boy, this is really a sports car compared to any other spacecraft that we've ever put in space. And they had a lot of fun. There was a lot of jokes pulled. You're going to see a couple here. This is that is Neil Armstrong on Gemini 8. And what's he holding there? Tell us about that.
That's like this is back in when Get Smart was on TV, and he had his shoe phone.
Spy show.
It was a spy show.
Yeah.
And he had a shoe phone, so I guess they're playing.
There's a sitcom, is a parody of spy shows. Adams was the guy's name. Get Smart.
Don Adams.
Don Adams was the, and Agent 99 was the lady that was his cohort. So they're making fun of, this is a shoe phone to call in.
That's great.
And that's David Scott, 2 moonwalkers right there, okay?
Yeah.
David Scott's still with us. I think he's pushing 88 years old.
Wow.
And what did we discuss there? I want people to note the helmets. They're sitting down.
Yeah.
And the helmet goes up to their nose.
Yeah.
Okay. When they're standing up, you see their mouth and chin in the photographs. Right. But these were very rigid spacesuits.
Right.
And look at how reclined David Scott is.
Yeah.
Must be uncomfortable to even sit up straight. But their helmet would go up to above their nose.
You can
in
see
the
it
space
covering
capsule.
it. Yeah.
In there. So, but here is a prank. That is now. This is Tom Stafford, the general, who's 91 years old now. This is his second space flight in about a year, because he was on Gemini 7 with Wally Schirra, his rookie flight. He had 2 scrubs there. So it took him 3 launches, and then he had 2 scrubs on this one. Mm-hmm. So 6 times he got in a spacesuit, and they nicknamed him the mayor of Pad 19 because 6 times he suited up to more than anybody to be launched. Yeah. And what's he got there? He's going to give Gunter.
Looks like a big match, right?
Yep, it's a big stick match.
To light this
tell Gunter,
candle.
Let's light this candle. And there was all kinds of posters and stuff they put on the wings and things like that. A lot of practical jokes up there. A
little levity is okay. You know, the guy is getting ready to leave the Earth. You know, come on. So
I'll drink to that. Good stuff there. Well, we want to talk about these 2 missions leaving the Earth, and we want Travis and I have worked up a special little segment here about the 2 spacewalks. This is actually David Scott rehearsing on the Vomit Comet.
Yeah.
With I don't know if that's a dummy actually there or Neil that's in the commander's slot there on the left. But you never thought about them rehearsing and practicing spacewalks like this, because today they do it where?
In
neutral buoyancy.
NBL, neutral buoyancy.
Yeah, this was before they figured out that underwater. Ed White, because they had trouble with the spacewalks we're going to talk about here. Ed White's was not too bad, but when we got to Buzz Aldrin in Gemini 12, it had not been perfected yet. And Buzz was the one that had a big light bulb idea that said, why don't we practice this in a pool? Because I'm a scuba diver and you're kind of weightless. And bingo. But before that, they were trying to practice things in space. And what he was practicing was putting a backpack on, all right, a Buck Rogers type backpack, and scooting around. And since they had an aborted flight because of a stuck thruster, we have that electronic part just next to me here in our museum.
Yeah, we got that.
Gemini Gallery. Gemini 9, it came to them, Tom Stafford and Gene Cernan, to try this Buck Rogers backpack thing. And here it is. Well, let's first, what am I showing you here? Oh, where is the backpack of Geno's?
And you know, he only got about 45 seconds of weightlessness. And then, because they do what's called a parabola, the plane goes up and down. And if the pilot is good enough, you get about 45, 48 seconds of free fall.
Well, we're going to read from you about the 2 spacewalks here. Show them the book that you have, Trav.
Okay, I have one live from Cape Canaveral, which was Jay Barbary, was a NBC correspondent, space correspondent.
Right. You met him a bunch of times.
Met him a bunch of times.
Was he ever at the KDI?
No, I think the only times
in?
we talked was at the press site.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
Yes, he saw every launch of a human into space up till, don't think he saw the Crew Dragon because he was ill, and he passed away about a year ago.
Okay.
And I have a book that y'all have on your shelves called Moonshot. I know y'all have these books, but have you really read them? If you haven't read them in a while, like I read this book maybe 10 years ago, and I went back, and they're so fresh. Particularly, it spurred me to do this. What we're going to do is we're going to read Ed White's passage, Jay Barbary wrote, and then I'm going to read the passage about the Gene Cernan's spacewalk. And this is written by Alan Shepard and Deke Slayton with the help of Jay Barbary and Howard Benedict, another fabulous writer.
Right.
And I think what I'm reading, Howard wrote of. But as we look at this famous spacewalk, you've all seen the iconic images. Let's listen to what Triple T says that Jay Barbary wrote about it.
Okay, on June 3rd, 1965, the Gemini 4 crew, James McDivitt and Edward White, roared into space for 4 days. On their 4th trip around the Earth, White opened his hatch and stepped into space over the blue Pacific between Hawaii and New Mexico. America's first spacewalk was underway. White took a deep breath to relax. He gripped a handheld gun armed with pressurized oxygen, fired it in timed spurts. It pushed him in the direction he wanted to go. The steering jet, right out of the comic books, did its job. He could maneuver his body to the limits of his 25-foot tether. The beauty of Earth rolling beneath him was incredible, and White somersaulted, floated lazily on his back, pirouetted, grinning like a kid enjoying a summer swim. He could fly, and he witnessed one of the strangest satellites ever launched. A thermal glove he had left on his seat drifted up and away and began its own orbit. I think that's cool. White and McDivitt were so taken by what was happening that the 12 minutes planned for the spacewalk passed quickly. It was time for White to get back inside while they still had daylight. Gus Grissom was Capcom, the astronaut assigned to talk to the Gemini 4 crew, from Mission Control in South Houston now. He knew that euphoria that White was experiencing was akin to the dangers, raptures of the deep, like divers get. So he was happy, right? Still frolicking in space, and Grissom called him in his best command voice, "Gemini 4, get back in." And McDivitt said, and then McDivitt repeated the order. And White says, "Well, what's the flight director say?" And the flight director was Chris Kraft. He moved to his microphone and barked, "The flight director says get in now." So White laughed. He said, "This is fun. I don't want to come back in, but I'm coming." And the spacewalking astronaut discovered that maneuvering his body along Gemini without the use of the gun was easier said than done. After 7 minutes of tough going, he finally made it back inside. He had been out 21 minutes instead of the planned 12. And he said there was a little sensation of speed. The view was something spectacular. I could see the outlines of cities and roads. I could see the wakes of ships at sea. The smiling Ed White said one more thing. It was fun. And I can only imagine being a human satellite would have to be the coolest thing you could do.
Absolutely. And this followed just by 2 months the first spacewalker, Alexei Leonov, who became great friends with Tom Stafford on the Apollo-Soyuz test project.
Okay.
And Leonov had a lot of trouble spacewalking that the Russians did not tell us about.
Yeah.
They acted like it was a piece of cake, but he actually had an emergency trying to get back into the capsule. Actually, they actually had the Russians put a inflatable tunnel outside their hatch, which was a round hatch, not gull wings. That was kind of like a pressure chamber for Leonov to get out. But there again, Chris Callie's gorgeous shot, a gorgeous artwork.
Yeah, that's way cool
in there. So now I'm going to take it with Gene Cernan there. And yes, it's the Gene Cernan that is the last man to walk on the moon. And he's standing right where Marty Winkle sat.
Yeah, Marty had to be there.
Yeah, that's your LM-12, Marty. And you know where he's standing very well, I'm sure, because Marty was a lead electrical engineer for Grumman back in his youth. And then he transitioned to the the shuttle program after Apollo. But I love that badass picture.
That is a cool picture
of him after the third EVA, all wore out, moon dust on his face, and his and Harrison Schmidt's helmets back there being stowed in there. But so this was his first flight with Gemini
5,
Gemini 9.
9.
He was a rookie with Gene Cernan's second flight, and this is what he was going to do. He was going to climb back to the across the Gemini spacecraft, and quickly get back and put on this jetpack. Okay, and here's what I'm going to read again from Moonshot by Alan Shepard and Deke Slayton, written mostly by Jay Barbary and Howard Benedict of the Associated Press. Howard Benedict is. Spacewalking surprisingly became the hardest Gemini nut to crack. NASA should have been alerted when Ed White had trouble re-entering his capsule after his pioneering stroll. But because of the earlier ease he had had cavorting jubilantly from Gemini 4, mission planners were fully confident that spacewalking was a piece of cake. Little did they know. A year had passed since White had taken his walk, and Gemini's Gene Cernan was tapped to be the second American to step into the void of space. Remember, that was going to be David Scott on Gemini 8, the mission before this, that got aborted by the stuck thruster. So confident were planners that they had installed in the back of Gemini 9's equipment module an astronaut maneuvering unit, an AMU, which Cernan would don as if he were some bejeweled Buck Rogers jetpack and use its thrusters for some fancy flying in space. The Air Force, which developed the pack, trusted its reliability and told NASA, just send him out without the backpack. He won't need that damn tether. All it'll do is tangle him up. That's some confidence. Okay. Well, once they started Tom Stafford and him got to space. Cernan attached the lifeline and began climbing down the spacecraft. All right. He didn't fly and he didn't float and he didn't have anything that faintly resembled a glorious experience. He did everything he could to clamp his gloves on something that would secure him to his ship. Without proper handholds, he kept slipping off the sleek hull of the Gemini vehicle and had to fight his way back. He could very much have used a jet gun like the one that propelled Ed White 2 years earlier. But a year earlier, I mean. A 15-foot traverse he had planned to last a few minutes took him nearly an hour of exhausting, frustrating, clumsy struggle. But he made it to the back, just like we're there. Tom Stafford didn't get a chance to take many photos. This is one of the few photos that he took because Cernan was out of the way, and Cernan was supposed to put the backpack on and then cavort in front of the cameras. It's a strange world out here. Whew, Stafford radioed. Take a rest, Tom told him. Cernan didn't need that advice. He was grateful just to hang on to some equipment in the rear of the Gemini.
Wow.
And here is an amazing photograph or an artwork by Domenico Del Corio. I found this from 1966, and this is what he was doing back there, okay?
Trying.
After a brief rest, Cernan began to maneuver his body into the what they called the AMU, Astronaut Maneuvering Unit. There's your acronym of the day, which resembled a hiker's backpack that would have fit comfortably on the frame of a grizzly bear. Trouble remained Cernan's constant companion. All right, he had trouble getting into the footholds were inadequate. The handholds were woefully inadequate. He needed positions that would allow him to use leverage. Soon he was severely overworking his own chest pack, which circulated oxygen through his suit and also removed excess moisture from his body. He perspired. Fog collected inside Cernan's helmet visor and froze because they were on the dark side of the earth. And he endured excessive heat, perspiration, and ice all at the same time. Wow. He was barely able to see through the visor, a potential lethal situation for a man turning like a bloated ragdoll in a vacuum several feet from the security of his spaceship. Stafford called Mission Control. Quote, "We've got problems. Gene is fogging up real bad." And then he spoke directly to Cernan. "I'm really fogged up, Tom," Gene told him. Stafford didn't like the sound of Cernan's voice. And boy, that would be an indicator, wouldn't it? Because you live with these people training. And he again called the team on the ground. "The pilot's visor's fogged over. Communications are very poor. He sounds like a large gargle. If the situation doesn't improve," Stafford suddenly went quiet and said, "It's a no-go for the AMU. The pilot is fogged up completely." So quietly, the ground control, they measured his heartbeat at over 190 beats a minute, and he's in trouble, one controller quietly said. Unnecessarily, of course. Well, Tom Stafford suddenly felt an icy chill as he recalled a very private conversation he had with Deke Slayton before launch. Okay, now this is Deke Slayton writing this book. All right. "Look, Tom," Deke had told Tom Stafford, "what Gene's going to do is pretty risky. If he's outside and he's in trouble, and if for some reason the spacecraft is in trouble, short of fuel or something, and well, if there's no chance of getting him back in," Deke's voice faltered, then picked up. "There's nothing written on this, Tom, no mission rule, but well, I think you understand. If that kind of thing happens, you've got to cut him loose."
Wow.
Stafford could hardly believe what he was hearing, but Deke was dead serious. "If it's a hopeless situation, you've got to save at least one crew member in the spacecraft." Well, Tom, of course, never did what he would have done at such a moment. He didn't have to go through that, casting off a fellow pilot to certain death. He couldn't. But there was Cernan struggling to get back in the cabin, and finally he made it. The third man to walk in space, the second American, had been outside a record 2 hours and 2 minutes, and all of it had been pure hell.
Wow. God.
So, from the official words of Deke Slayton there,
exactly.
what a hairy situation that was. And
wow, that's something.
Next year I'll pull it out from Cernan's wonderful book about Last Man on the Moon there. But really some drama there that happened in 1966, 56 years ago. Still fresh on everybody's minds as, of course, Tom Stafford, the general, because he became the general over Edwards Air Force Base after his career on there. So, well, we wanted to hope you enjoyed that little story time with Triple T and Mark here on Stay Curious. And we want to segue into that to just a little bit of news, and that yesterday, June 2nd, at Arlington National Cemetery, the daughter of Roger Chaffee and the brother of Ed White, or not of Ed White, of Lowell Grissom was there, brother of Gus Grissom. They rededicated a new monument at Arlington National Cemetery.
Right, Arlington.
Where you, me, and
yeah, we walked around there.
Yep, you and me were there with Marty.
Mark
in July next year. Yep. July, it will be a year since we were there.
Okay.
So nice little tribute there. We wanted to mention that. But we also wanted to take you quickly to Spaceview Park, pictures I shot today. this one particularly, of the monuments to the Gemini astronauts.
Right.
And their hands are in bronze on top of those pillars there. And the walkway of bricks has these pavers there to honor the spacewalk. And Ed White passed away before the hands were harvested, of course. That was done about 1998, 97. But we have a bronze relief of him there.
Right.
Courtesy of Sandy Storm did this some artwork. And all of these astronauts have their hands. Yes, the Gemini astronauts that flew on Apollo, like McDivitt, he's got his over at his Apollo 9 area there. But there's the hands of wonderful Jim McDivitt, who's going to be 93 years old next in a couple of weeks, I believe, is his birthday.
God bless him.
They even have a paver for the Atlas Agena rocket. And, of course, there's Stafford and Cernan's official crew patch with the docking and the spacewalk being shown on the patch there.
Right.
And I put my hands on the wonderful general, who I've had the privilege to have met a couple times.
Awesome.
And they rebuffed those up. They put some insulating, they put some primer and then repainted them because the rebarb that these were built with has started to come through horribly. And they just did this about less than a year ago. And I can see the rebarbs coming through again on some of them. There is the wonderful monument, and those are people's names, contractors and NASA people written on there. And there's a couple close up. Marty, there's Hazel Seacack Banks. Hey, Hazel. She just got back from a wonderful trip to Europe. There's Hazel Seacack Banks. She was astronaut secretary to the Apollo astronauts, and she started working, I think, Gemini 8 or 9 was one of her first missions there. I was looking at, there's Charles Berry, the astronaut's physician, is there, and a couple other notable people that I've met are on that wall. Up at the top are all the people like Chris Kraft, Charlie Mars is on there. That's our tribute to these wonderful astronauts out there at Spaceview Park, Travis.
Yeah, that's way cool. And it's a nice walk. People should go see it.
Oh, absolutely. Of course, it's getting to be Florida weather here, so morning and evening walks are best, of course. But hope that you've enjoyed that trip down memory lane with our Gemini astronauts. But you know, the future of our museum is definitely the space shuttle because people like you are still youthful and telling those stories. And we're going to end our program with thinking of the shuttles of June. We've launched one already. Yesterday was STS-91, which had aboard it this crew of astronauts there. 2 women, that's Cavandi and... who's the other woman there? And where's my notes, real quick?
I can't tell her face from here.
You would know her if
it's not Julie. Julie Piet.
No. Well, someone's going to remind Marty of what I'm forgetting in my old age here. So, 91. I got 91 right here. Got to have the right astronauts on 91. I had that in front of me. Doggone it. There we are. No. Here we are. That was Charlie Precourt was the commander, his 4th and last flight. Dominic Gorey, first of 4 flights for him as a pilot. Franklin Cheng Diaz, 6th of his record 7th flights. He is on the upper left there with the Beatles haircut. Up there. And that is Wendy Lawrence is on the far left. And Janet Cavandi is in the middle. And then you've got Valerie Ryumin, Ryumin. Valerie Ryumin had a long career as a Russian engineer and cosmonaut, twice named a hero of the Soviet Union, a veteran of 2 long stints on the Salyut space station. There he is in your white room. I think that's you.
Yeah, that's
a little chubby, but you're well fed and well paid back then. I should say well paid and well fed back then. Valerie was on Salyut 6 space station for 175 days in 79, and then returned again in 1980 for 180 days. He was in space over 350 days in a 2-year period.
Wow.
And very experienced. And then he became the the chief of the cosmonauts, and then was over all the space stations and designing them and so forth. So he had not been to space since 1980, and he simply wanted to go up and check out the Mir space station because I built it.
Yeah.
And I'm the cosmonaut leader, so I'm going.
And I'm going. He said it, yeah.
So you've got a little tale to take us out with our Stay Curious fans out there.
Well,
we have Dave Stange watching, Pam Shivik, a Buckeye friend of mine, and outreach. Robert Law, of course, is enjoying his Friday night cocktail, I'll bet, in Dundee, Scotland. Gary Gerald, Robert Kratz, thank you for watching Stay Curious. Christopher Mick, and we've got Miguel.
I couldn't.
Miguel Angel, thank you, Marty. Ramirez Manduano. All right, and thank you for watching, everybody, and staying curious out there.
Yeah.
We're going to be seeing Mark Usiak running around
soon,
here.
Yeah.
He's coming down for the Artemis
rollout
in there. But tell us this: you've told it before, but we love hearing this story. One of the best White Room stories that Triple T has.
So this is a couple of days prior to the launch, about 2 days. And we had to close the airlock out for flight. So my NASA quality and I are in the airlock with our book. And we just bought the last stamp. We just closed the book literally and said we're done. And then this astronaut just reaches in. He's got a bag in his hand. And
you're not going to throw him under the bus.
I'm not going to throw him under the bus. And he says, put this bag in that locker. So I looked at my NASA quality, and I just, we don't have it in here.
On your checklist.
Yeah, on it on the paperwork. So then I hear, put this bag in that locker. So I just looked at my NASA quality, and he did that. He shrugged his shoulders, and he said, astronaut. And that was it. So, of course, I'm going to look. So I opened the hatch to put it in there, the locker, and I look in the bag, and there's 8 gallons of vodka that they took to the Russian space station Mir.
In like a water bag, though.
And they were bottled. No, they weren't bottled. It was in
Smirnoff.
16 bags of half-gallon bags.
Oh my gosh.
8 gallons of vodka.
Wow.
And I asked the flight doc. I said, what's the deal? And he said, the Russians drink vodka like water, and I'm afraid they'd have DTs or something. So he gave them at least a shot a day.
Yeah. Hugh Harris, who I told that story to because I knew I was going to be talking to you. We had Hugh Harris, the voice of NASA, on yesterday. When I told him that off air, I think he even said on air, we mentioned that because of the flight. And, I said, Triple T says they smuggled a bunch of gallons of vodka up there. And Hugh Harris says, only a couple? That's not enough. There. But Russian physicians actually recommended that they take a shot of alcohol at the end of a work stint. And when we went to the Mir space station for the first time, that was Norm Thagard, and he came back saying, they're smoking cigarettes up there. And I think they put a stop to that. But they would. They'd smoke a cigarette. There's
vodka.
And vodka after lunch, after their evening meal. And so, Triple T, thank you for your wonderful tales today. Thank you for our little book corner. We'll have to come up with a little Tales with Triple T in our library here. So,
did we mention the Hyatt? I don't remember.
No, well, we appreciate the Hyatt sponsoring Stay Curious in our studio here. We had over 45 slides to show today, so I didn't throw there. But thank you for shouting out there for Robert and Dana for taking care of our needs up there. In fact, Chris Calley's going to be staying there, our artist friend that you're going to get to meet, whose background is this beautiful painting, not a photograph. This is a painting of Ed White's spacewalk. Done in 1965 on this date in space history. Okay, 66 years ago.
You know, I've
56
heard
years ago.
I've heard that when he got back, he told all the other astronauts, "You just gotta walk in space." That was cool. So
It's
that's
supposed to be
pretty.
12 minutes. They ended
Yeah.
up 22, and I found
Yeah.
it interesting. He might have been getting this Benz euphoria.
Yeah, I've
they
had
were
that
worried
happen
about.
before. I was a diver.
Uh-huh.
I was at 120 feet at the bottom of Blue Springs in Florida, and I started getting giddy and happy, and I'm like, oh, it's time to go up. And so, yeah.
Well, that's interesting. So, well, we appreciate you all staying curious. We want you to have a great weekend. We've had a great weekend with you all watching Stay Curious. Please tell your friends to get on board with you, and particularly on Facebook, because
Yeah.
we've monetized Facebook. We make a few not dollars every show, maybe 25, 30 cents, but it depends on you all watching the ads and so forth on there. And you know, on weekends, I think, Travis, we want to make sure that we think about our
Yeah.
International Space Station and the humans who are orbiting Earth right now.
Right now.
After all, this is the crew up there: 3 Russians, 3 Americans, and 1 Italian there. The Samantha Cristoforetti up there is the Italian astronaut, all getting along just fine.
Yeah, everything's happy,
And,
go hunky-dory.
while on Earth, you know, that's where the borders are, that's where the conflicts are, but not in space. And we just want to remind y'all, 16 times a day,
Yeah, they go
not
over.
triple T, but 16 times a day, this International Space Station's orbiting Earth, and there's an app for you to catch it a couple times a month, usually a week. It's in the morning sky and a week in the evening sky.
You ought to
from where
really
you're at.
take the time and just go look, because it only lasts a couple of minutes,
Mhm.
but you get to see it. It's going 17,500 miles an hour, so it's pretty cool.
And as it comes over you, it gets brighter and moves faster.
Yeah.
And these people are on there, folks, doing some great science, improving Earth. The other lady there is Jessica Watkins, the first African-American woman to live on the International Space Station.
Right.
So we're proud of her to do that. She's an Artemis astronaut. Maybe she'll be the astronaut lady of color.
Who
that
knows?
walks on the moon.
There's going to be that. Yeah,
And,
NASA was
so,
pushing for that. So,
And so we'll be talking Artemis next week as the rollout's supposed to happen.
yeah.
Monday night, I believe, and so we're looking forward to all
Should
that.
be out
So-
there right around sunrise.
So, Triple T, thank you for being here. Marty, thank you for a
Yep.
flawless show. We had Jessica Galloway, shout out to her in the background, doing some techie stuff for us, and of course we have our whole staff here that's behind
Yeah.
this program for you under the direction of Karan Conklin, our wonderful executive director. So, Travis, we hope to see you again next week.
Yes, sir.
And we hope to see you all out there. And please come to our museum, because we want you to what?
Bridge the space between us. Come see me, please.